So in this state, or these different states, we now can match our corresponding mind thoughts. So if whenever time we are in this challenge response, the mind tells us, I can do it, right? It's like the tape player in our mind is just going to keep repeating the brain, and it's going to say, I can do it. So no matter whatever it is, say, I can do it, but you can't do it. Yes, I can, but I can do it. I'll try, right? So the mind is going to say, yes, I can try when in this state. Whereas in the mind over here, when in this state, will say, I don't want to, I can't, right? I can't do it. I just can't, I don't have enough for me today. So the tape player in the mind will repeat whatever comes into it will just get caught. So I can do it, any challenge, I can do it, or I can't do it. It can be the simplest thing, can't do it, right? So those are, the mind says to us on a repeat, and that's just the inner self-talk of each of these physiological states. It's not you, it's not me, it's all of us. It's our inner physiological self-talk based upon state. It's state dependent. And all of these states are simultaneously existing in us, which is the cool part. So it allows us to access them when we understand that. When we're in this state, our mind tells us, I have to do it now, but I don't want to. I have to do it now. It feels compressed or pressure, right? So if we look at this time and space sort of graph, if you look at space-time, understanding of sort of space-time and how it spreads out, if we shoot up and our energy is high but our sense of ability is low, we push sort of out of this natural curve and we go over here, we feel time compressing on us, right? We feel like, oh, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough time. And that's part of what our mind tells us based upon our physiological state. But it's all sort of relative, because once we shift into this physiological state, we feel like we have a lot of space because our sense of ability is really high. So our concept of space is more omnipresent. It's like we're just hovering and we feel like we have access to all regions and we feel pretty comfortable, right? So our actual sense of how we feel, how much time we have, and how we're moving through time that day or that moment shifts. We all kind of know that, right? When we say, so when we feel compressed or time is going awful, we're sort of on this side. When time feels flowy and smooth and omnipresent, we're more on this side, okay? So the mind will say these things to us, okay? In the same way that wherever we line up in each physiological response, we have emotions that overlay it too. So if our energy is really high and we're right on the line and we really are balanced in our sensibility, we kind of feel pretty alert. Maybe that, doesn't mean anything. We aren't really tipping either way. We're just alert. But then we start to get some sense of ability, and let's say we ride this line over here and we're +5, and over here, we feel in flow. So this is sort of the flow line. And when we match our energy and our sense of ability, on the plus side, we feel in flow. Or our challenge response, we feel like our abilities match whatever's coming. And it's that perfect synergy. It's like a martial arts fight where everyone balances each other out. And it's that perfect flow. It's just that good day, right? And so that's a state that we can access all the time. It's no different than any other state. We just have to know how to do it. Right? So we feel in flow. When we feel we have a lot of ability but less energy, over here we feel more controlled. So we can sort of see right here, a lot of energy, less skill, we feel alert. Balanced energy and skill, we feel in flow. A little bit less energy, but a lot of ability, we feel under control. And then as we start to get a little bit less energy as we're in the recovery response phase or relaxation response phase, we shift here, we feel obviously relaxed, right? We just feel the kicked in relaxed feeling. But then as our energy stays low and we feel, if we shift over here and we have less skill, so now we have low energy and low skill in this section, right? We feel sort of sad or ho-hum or sad or depressed, right? Depending on where we are on the line. But if we have low energy and low ability to do anything with it, we generally feel pretty down, pretty crummy, right? It's just a bad feeling. And we sort of see if we're over here, and this is sort of our North Star up here, our sun, our light, whatever you want to say it, this is our who we want to be, it has to cross this region, and we literally feel like we can't see it. We feel like we're under the water and we in the clouds and we can't see the sun, right? So this is not a fun place to be, but we have to know that it is just one of the states. And it makes sense when our energy is low and our sense of ability is low. So in the same way, if our energy starts to rise back up, we have a lot of energy, but our sense of ability or skill can't handle it. We feel really pushed and our challenge is higher than we feel like our skill can handle it, right? We feel anxious or maybe angry. I think if we have a little bit more ability or skill, but a lot of energy, we feel that tension or friction, resistance. And if we feel like we have no skill or ability or not enough, but a lot of energy, we feel anxious, right? So anxious, anxiety sort of resides, tension, anger. That's why we fight if we have a lot of tension, or flight if we want to get rid of it and just get out of there, right? So these are our physiological responses that are all ever present within us. Okay, so that's the important part. They are all ever present within us. And they even line up to how our body feels, right? So again, in this state, when our energy is high and our sense of ability or skill is high, we're in this sort of flow state, challenge response. Our body feels graceful and athletic and full of energy and light. Down here, when we're in the relaxation response, right? So this is leaning in. We're leaning in, we're taking the challenge, and then we meet the challenge and we lean back, right? So lean in, lean back, lean in, lean back. We lean in, lean back. That's our day. We climb the mountain, we do the hard things, we get to the top, we lean back, we take it in, right? That's the cycle we want to go through, as we're going to get into the ultradian rhythm cycle of leaning in, leaning back. So when we get down here, our body says, I don't have to, right? So we just did the hard, challenging thing. So if we're in our body state, how our body feels, here it feels light and athletic and graceful, and over here it feels relaxed and like it's recovering. You just feel like you're taking in the nutrients and the resources after you've done the hard work. Over here, the inverse sort of, or opposite sort of this, the challenge response is the avoid response. So our physical body here feels very uncoordinated and heavy. So here we feel light and graceful. Here we feel uncoordinated and heavy, right? And then the irony here is a lot of athletes, or when we work out, we feel like we need to get angry and be really, that's how we access this high energy, is through anger. But what that really does, instead of taking us into our graceful stage and athletic and light and fluid, it puts us into more of a herky-jerky stage. So everything is sort of really tight and our muscles don't relax and pump correctly. So it's just sort of rigidness, and we feel like we're really strong maybe, but it's a little bit herky-jerky, and we're not as fluid or as smooth as we are in this response. And so this is where we want to live, whether it's mental, how we talk to ourselves, emotional, how we feel about ourselves and in the world, or physical, how our body is interacting with ourselves and the world. So all of those, the mind, what we say to ourselves, the emotions, how we feel about ourselves in the world, and our body, how we feel inside ourselves and how we react to the world, are all simultaneous. So it's like a mobile in a kid's room. And each of those, the mind, the emotions, and the body, are all on the same string. And so this string, so if we're in the challenge response, our mind, our emotions, and our body are all on this side, right? So if we're over here, our mind, our emotions, and our body are all responding to this. Same here. Mind, emotions, and body are all responding to this. Mind, emotions, and body are all responding to this. So we are a mind-body system. We feel the signal, so the compass, where are we? You could say, well, it's because of this, because of it. Yes, it can be because of external things, can be because of internal things. Regardless, where we are is where we are. So start with where we are. The compass, where are we? So this is our fundamental first tool in understanding and finding where we are. When we can understand where we are, we know how we're going to think, how we're going to feel emotionally, and how we're going to feel physically. And then from that, we don't blame or judge or worry. We work our infrastructure, our templates, and our plan and our framework to get to the side where we can then make good decisions. So, sort of the first takeaway lesson, know where you are, but it kind of feels bad. So right now, it doesn't feel great to check in and know you're on this side if we don't have the skills or tools of Dayflow to get us over. So Dayflow's entire system, don't worry, is giving you the skill or ability to identify and to correct or work with. Let's see. Nothing wrong with all these. If we weren't alive, or we are alive, so duality exists to have both the spirit and sort of the ego, the growth and the fixed, right? So whatever you call it, this integration is not an accident. If we feel minus 10, just the worst, depression, sadness, can't see the other side of the world, that is still a human emotion. I know it's not fun. I know. If we feel the most anxious, no sense of ability, that you're still on the chart, right? So these emotions are all part of us, these places, these physiological states, but you're still alive if you're in the wave. And if you're in the alive and you're in the wave, we can use Dayflow and our sense of ability and skills to move us. So use this in the beginning just to start to identify yourself and others without judgment too much. I say, oh, they're cranky all the time right now, or they're doesn't want to do anything, or they're relaxing, or they're seeking a challenge, right? Them, me, the world. And notice, if you see everything like this scary, that's the state you're in. If you see everything as you want to take on a challenge, that's the state you're in, right? So wherever you are is where you are. That's the compass. Now we will use other things, Dayflow system, to move over, right? So first lesson, take it in. It's a lot. It's sort of the biggest component. That's why I wrote a book on this. Our mind-body system, our how we think, how we feel emotionally, and how we feel physically and interact with the world. This is the meeting point. And wherever we are, we use the templates, the structures to just keep moving forward. I've woken up plenty of mornings and felt here or here, which I'll talk about, right? And just followed the template when I didn't want to, follow the structure. And sometimes an hour later, you know, if I get up early before my son even gets up for breakfast, I've already gotten to this side. Some days it takes me till noon to get here, or even 3 o'clock if it's a really bad day, right? Sometimes there's worse days, of course. I'm not saying that. But don't be too scared on the side you start with. If you have the templates, infrastructure, and just put your belief, faith, and trust in it, and the more it pays off for you each time you do it, you're going to realize, okay, this makes sense. Then your sense of ability feels better, and you start to naturally shift over. So ideally, a month, 30 days, a year, right? We can start to shift our general starting point as well. So we can influence ourselves acutely by following the template that day and getting to the correct side to feel how we want to feel and do what we want to do and think how we want to think. And chronically, we'll start to slowly move our placement. So even if you're always waking up down here or over here, wherever, by following the template all the time in the system and believing in it, we will start to transition our starting point a little bit better all the time. So acutely, we can make big changes, right? And both chronically, we can start to shift. So we can make small in the day changes, and over the next 30 days, year, lifetime, it's exciting. We can shift ourselves into places where we have huge sense of ability, and our energy will shift from what we do to in our exercise, and you're going to feel great, right? And even in your days you don't feel great, you follow the templates, and we can get ourselves to feel pretty darn good. So, lesson 1, take it all in, swallow it, look at it, read it over, watch it again if you need to a couple times. But the 4, really we're going to say 4 physiological states that sort of pull us, like currents, know where we are, and sort of understand why that's where we are. And then we'll go on to the next lesson.